right, on to new business item number 2. Consider adoption of ordinance number, Katie, we have an ordinance number?
2450.
2450, approving a text amendment to section 18.170.020 zoning ordinance regarding standards for signs in the agricultural and residential districts. Mike Hall, good evening.
Thank you. I'm going to wait for just to load for a minute. Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this part of the zoning ordinance regulates signs for all uses in the agricultural district and all residential districts. Consider that in addition to residential uses, there are many non-residential uses permitted in these districts, including churches, schools, hospitals, and other public buildings. They're either permitted by right, or they may be permitted or approved by an entitlement, like a conditional use permit or a preliminary development plan, a final development plan. However, the standards in this part of the ordinance, specifically in sections 18.170.020 through 18.170.040, do not adequately provide for the signage needed for permitted and entitled residential uses. The insufficient regulations have been especially problematic for schools. Let me just give you an example. If you were to look in the current ordinance and you're looking for what signs are permitted for schools, there's nothing that clearly says you can permit a sign for a school. There's signs permitted for churches, but not for schools. So if you look at the new schools on Grand Street, those are in residential districts. So when the school district comes to us and they want to do the right thing and get permits for signs, it's difficult to issue them permits. I don't know what's happened in the past with other schools, but I can tell you that currently it's difficult. We like to follow the ordinance and issue permits for signs that are actually permitted specifically. So the proposed amendment provides reasonable and appropriate standards for these types of uses. That's the whole idea. I'm going to go through some slides here. The language refers to attached signs and detached signs. An attached sign is essentially a wall sign. It might be a projecting sign, I suppose, but or a flag-mounted sign. But this is a typical wall sign, and this is a typical monument sign. So the amendment specifically to 18.170.020, which, by the way, is referenced in the subsequent sections 030 and 040. For non-residential uses, the amendment would provide for no more than 2 non-illuminated wall signs, each sign not to exceed 5% of the area of the wall on which it is mounted, and would permit 1 detached sign up to 6 feet in height, 25 square feet in area permitted, in lieu of one of the permitted wall signs. So if someone wanted a detached sign, they would only be permitted 1 wall sign. This is an example of what this amount of signage would look like on a building. So it's just an illustration. For non-residential uses on sites of 5 acres or more, consider like a large school campus. Those campuses are typically quite a lot larger than 5 acres. This amendment would provide for no more than 3 non-illuminated wall signs, each sign not to exceed 5% of the area of the wall on which it is mounted, and 1 detached sign up to 6 feet in height, 25 square feet in area, in lieu of one of the permitted wall signs. The sign height can be increased with an increase in setback. That does not apply on the smaller sites, the sites that are less than 5 acres. So this is an example. This isn't the greatest example, but it is an example of the amount of signage that's allowed on a building. So consider that the proposed amendment also, if, let's say, a school had a need for an illuminated sign, an illuminated wall sign, they could go to the Planning Commission and request that. They would have to notify the adjacent residents. The proposed amendment does provide for illuminated detached signs, but it also gives the community development director discretion to determine where that sign is located so it doesn't create any adverse impacts or minimizes adverse impacts. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing on this item at their June 24th meeting, and it was attended by a representative of the school district, and they were in support of this. Clearly, this would allow signage on schools, and so it was important to them. And the Planning Commission voted unanimously to make a recommendation of approval to forward that to you, and with the recommendation that you adopt the changes in the code, the proposed changes in the code. One thing I want to draw your attention to, the attached ordinance, in the ordinance summary, it references all three of these sections of the code, the 18-170-020, 18-170-030, and 18-170-040. And that actually is a Scrivener's error. 18-170-030 and 040, there's actually no amendment to those sections since they reference the prior section. So in your motion to approve this ordinance, if you choose to do that, you'll want to make that note that that those two sections, the references to those, need to be deleted from the ordinance summary.
Council, we would like to point out that the staff recommendation would be correct.
Okay. So, Mike, thank you for the presentation. I'd hang tight. I don't know that we've got anybody still in attendance. If they were,
David Green.
questions for Mike Hall regarding new business item number 2.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2450, approving the text amendment to section 18.170.020 of the zoning ordinance regarding standards for signs in the agricultural and residential districts.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second, Shute, that we adopt ordinance number 2450, approving a text amendment to section 18.170.020, the zoning ordinance regarding standards for signs in the agricultural and residential districts. Roberts?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Podovich?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Shute?
Yes.
2450 passes. With that, we can move on to council updates. Does any staff have updates for council members? David Green, you're still hanging around. You got something?
No, I don't.
Mary? Jeff?
Thank you.
Mike? Frank? Cheryl?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have 3 items. First, I informed you all that the police chief recruitment during briefings has started. We have selected a national headhunter to be able to conduct that search for us. It's Mercer and Associates. They were selected because they can expedite this process for us. The process took us an extensive amount of time when we utilized citizens from other law enforcement entities. They recently completed the recruitment for Clayton, Missouri. They had a very strong, good applicant pool for that recruitment, and they thought they would be able to reach out to some of those applicants and see if they might be interested in this pool. They will be posting it, but they have started to work on this for us and anticipate that they'll be able to get us the chief much faster than what we would have been able to have done that with staff. So they will be doing some stakeholder interviews and talking with staff about getting started on that process on tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The utilities director position, we requested that, council give us permission to go ahead and post that